Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. Today's webinar is Getting Started with Vernier Remote Learning Resources. My name is Jess Hesselgrave. I'm here from Vernier, and we also have David Carter, who works for Vernier as well. He is going to be presenting today's webinar, and we're super excited to hear what he has to say. Just a quick note about the GoToWebinar platform. Attendees will not be able to chat. However, please drop your questions in on the GoToWebinar control panel to the right-hand side. There's a questions section. We'll be moderating that throughout the whole webinar, and so you'll be able to add your questions that we may save and answer during the Q&A towards the end of the webinar. Or we'll be answering questions that we can while they come in. So if you want to see the answer and are having a hard time viewing it, you can use the expanding button, which is just a little box with an arrow that's on that same line as the questions in the control panel. And that will expand the questions box so you can see it a little bit better. But we'll go ahead. It's already 2:01 in Portland, Oregon time. So we'll go ahead and get started. Here's a little bit of information about our presenter. This is David. He is our STEM Training Director here at Vernier Software and Technology. And as you can see, he has extensive experience in the classroom. And some of you may have seen him in person before at some of our professional development workshops. He is often the face that you will see during trainings, but he also supports the team that goes out and does those. So we're really excited to hear what he has to say. And David, if you're ready, go ahead and take it away.
I think I'm ready, Jess. Thank you for the intro. So welcome, everyone. Like Jess said, I'm David Carter, and STEM Training Director for Vernier. And so really our goal with this workshop today is to share with you some resources that we have available for you in this time when we're all online now. So this is just kind of an introduction to these things. So really our agenda today is we're going to show you how you can integrate data collection technology into remote learning. We've got some ways of being able to do this without actually having the students have to do a lab or something with a sensor. So we're going to show those. Basically ways of doing hands-on science from home. And we're going to show you some experiments that we've done ourselves and have sampled data and the software needed to actually be able to analyze that. And so that's really our goal with these workshops. We will be having other workshops later on that'll be more specific to some of what we see here, like some of the apps that we'll be using there. So just keep that in mind. So what resources are available? We're actually going to be featuring three things. One is the Vernier Video Analysis. It's a tool that allows students to analyze motion via video. And we've got some special things going with that now from being able to download it for a free trial. And we'll be talking about that. We'll also be talking about Pivot Interactives, and Pivot Interactives are high resolution videos of labs that students can interact with the data. They can change variables by looking at the different videos and has questions and whatnot. So you'll see that. And then lastly, we'll share with you the experiments and sample data file. And this is where we've gone through and we've chosen some of the more popular, commonly done labs. We were sharing the actual lab with you, so the student write-up and the data. So essentially, we've run the lab and provide you the data, and with the software tools, the students could actually analyze it themselves. And so that's what we've been working on here. So we're going to start with Vernier Video Analysis. And so the real thing about video analysis is that it makes it possible to do experiments that are really hard to do with sensors. For example, Years ago in a workshop, I had a teacher ask about being able to analyze some motion. He specifically wanted to drop a bowling ball from the back of the football stadium, and he was like, "Can I set up a photo gate or a motion detector to be able to do this?" And I was like, "Nah, that's going to be kind of hard. I would suggest using a video tool." And so there were some other tools there that we could do that with, and so that's kind of the real power of being able to do this. And so with this tool, it's possible for students to be able to analyze the data themselves, and so they can determine what's happening with the motion. There are prepared videos. We've got some samples there. They can download videos offline. They can create their own if they want to. So we'll kind of show you that. And this is a browser-based app. Some of you who may have been using our products over the years, in our Logger Pro software, there was video analysis capability. We had Vernier Video Physics, and it was available only for iOS devices, so Apple devices. But this Vernier Video Analysis is browser-based, and so basically any device that will run a modern browser can use it. And so it's really nice that way. We've had a lot of questions over the years about being able to use our stuff with Chromebooks. Well, yeah, it works with Chromebooks and other things too. So, and we now have a free trial of it through June 30th of 2020. And it's normally sold as a site license, and we'll find that on the internet where you can see more about that. So what I want to do is start with a little demonstration of using this app. And so let me escape there. And I'm going to go to the tab that I already have open. And so what happens when you sign up for the free demo version, you're going to get a code that allows you to sign in. And what will happen is that once you've signed in, your computer will remember that you have this, and as long as you don't clear the cookies out, it will allow you to open it up and open it up later. So I'd already done that, so I could just open it up immediately. And so what you're seeing on the screen there is what it looks like when we first launched the app. And right now there's really nothing there other than that intro screen. If we look at some choices, it says, well, we can import a video from our phone or a computer. So that would be where maybe the students have created their own and they want to put it in there. Choosing a file means that maybe you have one that's saved. And so they could open up the save file and be able to do that. So that's what that's about. But what I want to do is I just want to show you one of the sample videos here. And we like to start with the basketball shot here. It's a good one. And so what you're going to see is he's going to throw the ball and it's going to go through the air. And I will be able to track the motion of the ball. And from that, we'll be able to obtain information about the motion of the ball. And so a good physics thing to be able to do there. Now, some tools here. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to move the video forward until the ball has just left his hand. So now it's going to be in free fall because I want to track it after it's left his hand. And to do this, I will come up. You'll notice there's a set of crosshairs here. And the important part of this is that you're going to mark points on the ball, and in this case, and you always want to mark the same point on the object so that you're tracking it there. And so I'm going to come here and watch what happens. I click, and every time I click on the ball, it's advancing the frame by 1, and that's the default. If we come down here to the settings down here, you'll find that you can actually adjust this and have more frames available, or you can have it where you're skipping more frames there. So I'm going to do it. I want to do every 2 frames. So I'm not doing every point there. And so that's, we'll do that. So you'll notice the ball advances a little bit further every time I click on this. And so I'm going along here. Now, if you notice in the right-hand corner, upper right corner, you see a graph being drawn, and it's a 2-dimensional projectile motion graph, and it's positioned in X and Y is what we're seeing by default. So I'm going to go here until the ball gets back down to the bottom here. I don't think I'll follow it through the bounce. I could do that, but I won't do that. And so I've tracked the motion, and at this point, I might want to take a look at the graph a little bit. So I'm going to just kind of, I can grab the tabs here and slide it over, make it a little bit bigger. And if you notice something about the graph, the scaling over here, it doesn't have any units other than pixel. So it's actually looking at the pixel number. So it's not giving me the distances that I really want to look at. So what you can do with that is that when you have your video, it's very important that you have something of known size in the video. And if you'll notice down here at the bottom, that is a meter stick. And so we know that that is 1 meter long. And if I go over here to the left-hand side of my screen, I click there, and this is the set scale function. And so it says, move to known separation. So I'm going to come here and move it there so that I get my known length there. And if you'll notice what was happening with the graph, it was rescaling as I did this. And so now I actually have a scaled graph. And at this point, I can go ahead and shrink that. And of course, we've down here at the bottom, we've got our data there. And you'll notice that in the data table, maybe it says we've got time, we've got position in X and Y, but it also says X velocity and Y velocity. If we decided we wanted to look at a graph of the velocities, what I can do is come here to the upper right under my view options, and I might go ahead and say, well, I'd like to view 2 graphs. And by default, it will make the second graph be the velocity graph, since the first is position, and we have that one. So let me do this. I'll go ahead and pull this out. Now, so I've got both position in X and Y, and I am not all that interested in looking at the position in X. Maybe what I really want to know is the acceleration due to gravity. And so I can come here and I'm clicking on the label of the axis, and this allows me to choose what's displayed on this particular axis here. And so I'm going to come here and make it just the position in Y. And then I can do the same thing for the lower graph. I can click down here, and maybe I want to make that just the Y velocity. And so you might notice at the top, kind of looks parabolic, and then the bottom one is linear. So you're teaching physics, you want the students to be able to do acceleration due to gravity. And so at this point, you might have them do some analysis. And if I go to this tab, the Graph Tools tab, there are some things that I can do with this. And I'm very interested in a curve fit. And so I'm going to do apply curve fit. And by default, it brings up a linear fit, but that's pretty obviously nonlinear. And I'm just going to go cut to the chase and go to quadratic. And I can apply that fit. And if we come over here, I can scroll up there and we see that my A term, which should be 1/2 the acceleration due to gravity, and it's pretty close there. I got negative 4.47. So if I multiplied that by 2, I'm getting close to negative 9.8 there. And then another way to do this would be to come down to the lower graph, and then maybe I apply the curve fit with that one and just do the linear fit. So it's a little bit off there. More than likely, the reason it's off is that when I set my scale, I probably was a little cavalier with where I put it, and so I didn't quite set the scale to the right length there. So then that's what can happen. Now I want to do another one here. So I'm going to come here and say new experiment, and it's asking me if I want to save my work. I really don't want to, and we'll do this one. And I'm actually going to do this. I'm going to do choose file, and with this, I'm going to come where it says airplane. So this is a saved file that I've previously done, and so let me do this one. Whoops. Oh. What? Let me see. New experiment. So don't save. I tell you what, let me re-up the app there. There we go. I'll do it that way. So I'll do choose file and airplane. There we go. So what this is, a few years ago, I was doing a workshop in New York City, and we were at the Hilton at JFK. And when I checked in, I said, I want to be on a high floor facing the airport because I'm kind of an airplane aficionado, and I wanted to determine the landing speed of a variety of jets. And so what you're seeing here is a video that I took of an A380. And so if I do replay, let's see, oh, I forgot to back it up here, so I could back it up. And if I do replay, you can see what I did is that when the airplane went past, I marked a point on the tail. And then I have the graph here on the upper right corner, just like we did before. But notice that my scaling is still wrong. And so I need to set a scale just like I did last time. And the thing here is that what I want to make sure that you realize is that you don't have to have a meter stick in the screen. It just has to be something of known length. And what is known length here is the airplane itself. What I did was go to the internet and looked up the length of an A380, which happens to be 79 meters long. If you've never seen one, it is massive. So now my graph is scaled. And if I wanted to come here and determine, say, what was that speed it was going past, I might just do it by looking at position in X and finding the slope of that would give me the speed. So I get 79 meters per second, which I looked up and it's about right. In fact, it was actually just a little bit above the landing speed. Well, it's good. It's still in the air. So, but the point of the app is that it makes this possible. There's no way for me to take a motion detector or a photo gate or something like that and set it up and be able to do this. So it's a great tool. And the fact that it will run on a phone or a tablet or a computer, it's very easy for students to be out there studying motion, online and being able to do this. And so that's why we're kind of pushing this here. So let me go back here and we'll go on. So the next one is the Pivot Interactives. And so when I mentioned this a little bit earlier, I said, it's a video-based science learning environment. And what's happened is that the developers of this have recorded high-resolution videos of various experiments, and it was really designed to make it easy for students to investigate things that may not be easy to do in the classroom. So there are a lot of choices of things that would be just hard or maybe even too dangerous for your students to be able to do. And so it's really designed to be a supplement to what you might be doing in the classroom with a lab. But in this case, if you can't do a lab, this is a great way to be able to do that. And so when the students view the videos, they can change those variables, and you can actually create your own classes with it. And so I'll be showing you that here in a second. But right now, there is a fully functional 30-day trial period, and so you'll be able to sign up for that to try it out. And then also there's discounted pricing through the end of the year. It's sold as a seat per seat license kind of things, and you'll see that here in a second. So I want to go here, and I'm going to go to Pivot Interactives. And so what's happening here is let me put Peter away there. This is what it looks like when you sign in. It's just pivotinteractives.com. And what I want to do is I'm going to go up here and log in. And so I'm going to log in, and I'm going to log in as a teacher. Because what happens is once you've created your account, you can invite the students to do this, and they can have their own account. And so I log in and it says, "Hello, Teacher David." So it's saying that I'm here, and I haven't done it a whole lot. I'm not using it with students right now. So this is what it might look like if you logged in yourself. And what I want to do is I want to take a look at some of the libraries. And so these are the libraries of the videos of the interactives, and we can do this. My library would be where you maybe have your own videos, or you've pulled videos together off of Pivot Interactives, and you have that one. Um, the interactives library is what's already in the app here, and then, of course, community library is actually where people have put up their own. But what I want to do is I want to go to this one, and let's see here. Here we go. And the one I want to preview, I want to go to the ocean acidification. I showed you a physics example for the video analysis. For this one, ocean acidification, it's timely, and the Earth Day is coming up, and so it may be a topic that would be appropriate for that. And so let me do this. I'll hit preview. And this is what the students would be interacting with. So if we go here where it says part one, this is what's happening. So the idea is that in this setup, they've got a CO2 sensor. So there's a Vernier Go Direct CO2 sensor and a pH sensor. And they're going to light the candle in this enclosed environment. So they're going to be producing CO2. And the students can investigate what happens to the pH of the water as the candle burns. And so what I'll do is come here and let's play the video. And so I'll do this. And one of the things you'll see here in a second is that the videos usually will end up, if it's a long time period, they'll jump to a time lapse so that students aren't having to watch it real time. And in fact, at this one, I believe it's 160 times that. And the lava lamp, I think, is an interesting way of showing that, hey, time is passing, but it's passing quickly. Now, if you look at the right-hand screen there with the cell phone, those sensors are talking to the cell phone via our graphical analysis app, and you're watching the pH of the water on the top one, and then the CO2 level inside the chamber there, and so the students watch that, and then tell you what I'll do. I'm gonna go ahead and stop it. We won't watch the whole thing. We go down here, and it's asking the students to answer some questions. And so this is where it's really interactive. It's not just, hey, well, I watched this video and that was great. I mean, you can come here. And so this one actually asks the students to, what's happening to the CO2 in there? What happens when it diffuses into the water? Does it make it more acidic? Does it decrease and make it more acidic, the pH? So I'm going to come here and I'll just click there, and so it makes it more acidic. And I'll submit my answer, and it says, hey, I was correct. So I've got that one correct. And then it comes down here and it's asking you, what happens to the hydrogen ion concentration. And I'm going to come here and I'll say, well, I think it's this one. And I submit my answer and it's, oh, wait a second, you didn't get that right. So I could go back and say, that's what happened there, and then maybe resubmit. And then notice down here, it says lock answer and continue. So if we do this one, I can now go down to the second part of this. And so now it's getting into the chemical equations about what's happening to the CO2 and the formation of carbonic acid and all that. And it's asking them to, come down and answer some of those questions there. And for the sake of time, I don't want to go too far here. Let's see. I'm just going to click as I go. And I'm going to lock my wrong answer here. And then, let's see, I want to go, and let's go to here. Why does it matter? So I have to lock my answer so I can't change it. So here we get down to another video. And with this one, what they're going to do is take a piece of coral and put it into the water during the experiment. And so the first part of the questions are based on this video. And so the difference between this video and the previous one is the coral being put down into the water, and we see what happens there. And so again, on the right side, we've got our CO2 sensor, and the pH is listed there on the bottom. It's also not quite as fast a time lapse there, but so we see that one. And then I'll just go ahead and stop it. And you'll notice right here that this is where the different videos are that are related to this particular interactive. And so if I go here to the mass of the coral before, so I could, let's say, clear there, go there, and then I can go to that one where they're actually going to mask the coral. So this is where they're getting some of the data that they need to be able to answer the questions. And then, they'll be able to look at the mass afterwards. And so it has them go through and do all this. And you get down, of course, these are multiple choice, but then you actually have a free response. And so the idea is that the students can go through these on their own, and then they can actually turn them into you, and you can grade them. And so there will be further webinars about Pivot very specifically, maybe how you can use it, how you might set up your own classes and be able to do that. We just wanted to let you know that it's here, and so for you to be able to take a look at it there. Okay, so let me do this. So go back. I want to go back up here, and I want to take a look at the libraries a little bit more, because we went straight to an example here, but let me go back to the interactive libraries, because I want to point out that there are hundreds of these, and you can actually look at it by subject if you would like. And right now, the majority of them are physics, because it was actually started by the physics community there, but we've been adding the earth science and the chemistry and the biology. So this product has actually been growing fairly quickly. And right now, given where we are, it's probably going to be growing a little faster. And so you can check back and see what videos are there. You can actually filter it by activity type. And so you can go through and look what kinds of activities you need there. And then, grade level. Is it something that's just really basic, introductory, or do you need something that's more advanced, maybe for college or advanced placement? So you can pick and choose to filter out which videos would be most appropriate for what you're teaching. And so that's nice to be able to do that. And so let's move on to the next setting here. So the next part is the experiment and sample data library. And so again, this is where we have provided, right now it says 200, but we're actually working on having some more of these things. And so there's 200 experiments across different disciplines with the sample data files. And so again, the students can actually download the data for themselves and then be able to use the software to analyze that data. Now, you'll notice the next line, it says analyze data with graphical analysis, spectral analysis, or Logger Pro. So graphical analysis is our app that is available for 5 platforms, so Mac and PC, iOS, Android, and Chrome. And so it's free, and so that can be downloaded. There are files that use our spectral analysis app. So if you're doing spectroscopy, you would be using that one. And then there are some files that use our Logger Pro software. So some of you may have used Logger Pro. It's been around for a long time. We've always had a free demo available, but what we've done now is we've increased the length of the free demo. So it's available until October of this year, and to give you a longer window of time there. And lastly, we are working to increase the number of these things. And so we will be adding to this file as we go along here in the coming weeks here. So what I want to do is show you what it looks like and how you would interact with it, how you get the software to be able to do that. So that's our next thing to do here. So let me go here, and I'm just going to go. I'm going straight to the Vernier homepage. And so you went here to sign up for the webinar. And in fact, you went through here probably to the Explore Resources tab right at the top. I know we know what's going on now, and it's got to be right there front and center because we're all online these days. And so we put it right up there front and center. And so we can go down through here. Hey, look, there's the free webinar. You're at it now. And so you may have seen that one. And then this would be where you would go. When I showed the video analysis, you go there. Here's the link to get through to Pivot. And then this is the link to get through to the data files there. And then you'll also notice there's some other things that are available. The Physics with Video Analysis book that uses Logger Pro, you can download that one. There's some activities for Scratch and coding, but we didn't really want to go into those today. Those will also be, there'll be some separate webinars for things about that. But let me just go to that one. And so there's even a little video about how to do this, but I'm just going to show you what it looks like. So I'm going to scroll down, and of course it says quick start instructions, download the particular files that you want. And so we're going to come here, and what you see at the bottom is we've divided up the files by different disciplines. And I might want to go to, say, biology. And so if I hit save, it would actually download a zip file to my computer, and then I would be able to open that up. Now, I've already downloaded this previously, so I don't really want to do that. So I don't want to open that one up. And one thing I skipped and meant to do was browse the library. I skipped that part here. So let me go back to the browsing the library because this will show you what's available, and it's listed by the different topics. And in fact, it's been updated since yesterday, I see. So, hey, things that are appropriate for Earth Day that's coming up. And so you can see it by topic, like advanced biology, standard biology. And so these are the labs from the different books. And so you'll notice here that it lists the lab, it lists the app, that the data file you would use for analysis. And then some of these actually have videos attached to them. And that's another thing we're going to be working on. We're working to add more videos to this file set to make it easier for your students to be able to interact with the data. And so you can scroll down through here and see what all is available, and this is on the biology tab. There's chemistry, there's physics, and the elementary and middle school stuff. So lots of different choices there. So at this point, what I want to do is actually show you a file in action with the software and see what that looks like here. So let me come here, and I want to do this. I'm going to come over here. I've got my my graphical analysis over here. I'll put this out of the way. And so you'll notice here that I've already downloaded. There's the Vernier biology. And so that's the contents of that zip file for the biology. And so I'm going to be using data from that file here in a second. And so I'm going to open up graphical analysis. And so this is what it looks like when we open graphical analysis. And so let me make this nice and large there. And so right now, it shows some options there. One that says sensor data collection. Well, the whole point of us doing this is that you may not have access to sensors and have your students being able to do this. And so we can actually have it where we can choose a file to open and be able to analyze it. One thing about this graphical analysis app, I mentioned that it's available for the five platforms, is that it really looks the same and acts the same across all of those different platforms, which is really nice. So it's platform independent. And so it makes it easy for the students to be able to use. So I'm going to go here to choose file. And so there's my desktop, and I want to go to the biology thing here. And let's see here. Now, so you'll notice when I open this folder, there are some different options here. And one is that the part that is grayed out is actually the docs file. And so I actually would have to open that separately if I actually wanted to look at the lab itself. So what I will do here is I want to go to experiment 11 from the Biology with Vernier book, and I'm going to use the cell respiration. I'm going to use the version that just uses our CO2 sensor. This lab has 4 different versions, but I want to use just this version. And so this is sample data that was collected using this sensor. And so there were peas that were germinating, and so we're looking at the CO2 concentration there. But what we've done here is I need to actually show you what the lab is. And so let me open up this file folder here, and this is where you get to see both the docs and the there we go. So I'm going to open up the docs file here. So what you're seeing on the screen now is the actual experiment that the students would normally have done themselves in the classroom, but now can't because they aren't there. And so it's the student instructions that you have, and so you're going down through here. It tells you, how was it done, what was used to be able to do it, and the procedure is for being able to do the lab. So in reality, what would happen at this point is the students are going to skip these directions and come all the way down to where it gets down to being able to do the analysis. And so we're going to get down to step 11, where it says perform a linear regression to calculate the rate of respiration. So this is where they're going to come in and be able to use the app itself. So let me just close that out and get rid of that. And I want to do something here. One, I want to come here and I'm going to put this in presentation mode. This will make it a little easier for you to see the numbers on the screen there. So this is typically end up being used in the classroom, and now we're using it in a virtual classroom. So we'll do that there. So what you're seeing on the graph is the 3 different runs for the peas. And so there was a run that, in fact, I'm even going to do this. I need to come in and I want to put my graph legend, because the graph legend tells me something about the 3 different runs. The red run was when the peas were germinating and they were at 25 degrees C, so a nice warm room. The non-germinating peas, so these are pea seeds, they're not frozen peas, and so that's the blue trial there, and then the middle one there is cooler. So the peas were actually at a cooler temperature when we did the data collection there. And so what the lab asked the students to do was to do the linear regression. And I come down here, and you may have already noticed that it looks a lot like the video analysis. And so we've used some of the same features there. And so if I come here, I can apply the curve fit, and it's asking me to apply that linear fit. And so at this point, I can scroll up and down, and I would be interested in looking at the slope of those lines, because it's the question that was asked in the lab is, what is the respiration rate? How much CO2 is produced as a function of time? And so the slope is going to tell me that. So G, the one that's a little bit warmer, is actually germinating and producing CO2 a little faster than especially the one that is not germinating. But you'll notice it's actually slightly positive. that they are still alive and they are respiring very, very slowly. But so we've got that one, and then the middle ones there. So this is what this particular lab would have the students do. And so that file is an example of what's available there. And while we're here, let me show you a couple other things about the graphical analysis software that could be helpful for you. When we go here to the analysis, there are some other tools here like statistics and integrals for area under the curve. You can add annotations. Maybe I just say warm peas or something like that, and so they could come here and be able to annotate that. And so there are lots of different ones that are available under there, under the analysis tools. Okay, so at this point, I think what we'd like to do is be able to kind of go back, and I'll say don't save. Now, one of the things that could happen here is that if you were assigning this for a student for a grade, they could save the file, and with the analysis they did, they can send that to you, and then that's just what you could actually use maybe to grade their work at this point. And so they're answering those questions and whatnot from the lab. So, okay, so let me put that away there. Let me go back to, and so we've done the library. And so we're doing this because we know we are in extraordinary times right now, and thinking how best to help all of you out there to deal with it. And so we're definitely committed to helping you, and we're trying to ramp up our capabilities as fast as we can to do it. And like we said, we will continue to host more webinars and maybe specific topics. And don't hesitate to contact us if you've got questions and about all of this. And I want to make sure that we throw out the URL down here so that you make sure that you noted that. So if you go to vernier.com/remote learning, that will take you again to those resources there. So there I am, and now we might have some questions out here. So I don't know if what questions have been coming up while I was talking, but I don't know if Jess wants to throw some of those out to me.
I do indeed. Thank you so much, David, for presenting on all of these resources. As you mentioned, we're working on trying to find ways to better support educators on how you can move to teaching these topics online with your students. So please be sure to follow us on our social channels on Twitter and Facebook, LinkedIn. We're also on Instagram. That will be where we're posting updates, and you can get access to information about what kind of updates we're doing on our remote learning landing page, with all of those resources that David showed you, as well as announcements about any upcoming trainings that we're going to be hosting. So David, we do have a few questions that came in, and so I am going to just jump right in. One of the questions when you were talking about video analysis, this came in. Somebody asked about they're already using Vernier LabQuest in their school.
Yes.
And so do they need to update anything in order to analyze the videos?
Well, the LabQuest is actually, a piece of hardware for being able to do data collection. And right now, we suspect that, I don't know if you have access to it or not, but the video analysis is really it's a completely separate app. It really has nothing to do with that piece of hardware. So again, what you need to do is go to that resource page and then follow the path down to the Vernier Video Analysis, and it will lead you to being able to sign up for the free trial to be able to do that. And so really all you need for that is a device that will run a modern web browser. So, whether it be a computer or the students having their cell phones, maybe this is actually a time when the students will put their cell phones to good use, so that's what they have to be able to do there. So it's really not related directly to the LabQuest really at all at this point.
Great. We have another question about Vernier Video Analysis. So do the number of frames you showed adjusting, you went from 1 frame to 2 frames, does that depend on the characteristics of the video, or does the software just do that automatically for you to then be able to designate how many frames you want to do?
Well, I tell you what, why don't I back up and I could show that again if we wanted to. Well, I guess, let's see, are you still sharing that with me, Jess?
I think you should be able to,
Oh, there we go. I
yeah.
wasn't letting me escape for some reason. So let me go back to the video analysis here. And so what's happening here is that, slide this back over here, is that down here under the settings, what you'll notice is that this under the advanced video options is that you set the number of frames that you're skipping when you do this, but the actual frame rate is determined by the video. And so it can use, basically the standard videos that you would bring in. And so this was shot with an iPad, and I think the standard frame rate is 30 frames per second. There's a little bit of round off error there, but it can handle different frame rates. And and in fact, sometimes we actually recommend that you might have maybe a slower frame rate, so the video is a little less, the size is smaller. But it can handle different frame rates. So that's really automatic, because the device doing it determines the actual frame rate of the picture there.
Awesome. Thank you.
I will say this, and I didn't say we were going through, is that we've been updating this. And in fact, there was an update last night, and one of the things that happened is that you can now rotate the frame of reference. And so I didn't show that. I imagine in a more advanced video we'll show that. I do know there's some more things coming fairly soon, some other features that will be coming out in the next few weeks to make it more robust. So
Yeah, awesome. All right, so there were some questions about how to access video analysis and then sending it to their class. We're getting a lot of questions around, okay, me as an educator and as a teacher, I need to be able to access it. Then how do I distribute it to my students?
So let me do this here. Let's see if I go and let me start a new one here. When you sign up for it, and I'm trying to think where it went when I did this before, there was a distribute. Let's see, it allowed you to distribute to the students when they sign up. But I don't see it right here. Is it hidden behind there? Oh, I remember where it is now. It was hidden behind the something on my screen that you don't see. But if I click here, notice it says distribute app. And so what happens here is once you have it, it gives a link that you would actually send the students, and for them to be able to do it themselves. And so again, right now the subscription ends on June 30th. I too have a free license right now. And so that's how you do that. So it's the 3 little dots here that tell you about it. I didn't show you that part when we went through. There's also the user manual that's there. And so you've got that. And so that's a good resource there too. And it ends up being, it's a PDF document that you can look at too if you want to download it and have that. So
Definitely. One other thing to note about Vernier Video Analysis is the key is emailed to you. So if you do sign up for the demo, you'll get an email with the key that you need to use in the URL in order to access the unique license for you. And so you'll get that through email, and there's also some other great information that will be sent to you via email. So if you sign up for a demo and you don't see something in your inbox, be sure to check that spam filter, since some important information gets sent via email.
And one thing I want to point out is that, you know, it is browser based, but it actually can work offline, so you don't have to be online to do it. Once you've opened it up, it basically stores the key in the cookies, and so that you can be able to use the app without having to be on the internet. And so there, every couple of weeks, you may have to re-up it to make sure that it's actually will allow you to do that. But you don't even have to be online to make it work.
Pretty great. We do have some pivot related questions as
Okay.
well. So one of the questions that we actually got a few questions about this, about grading in pivot. So how does grading work?
That's a good question. This is where I know that our plan is to have some pivot specific ones. And so, you know, setting up the classes, I'm not an expert on that one. We're going to have people that are a little bit more expert with actually pivot go through and set up the class and how you interact with that. So that's how we're going to have to handle that one. So there are some, I know there's some help in there that you can go to be able to do this. So this may be a good place to be able to do that, where you can contact the support for Pivot, and they could actually help you walk through that a little bit better than we can in our short time. We were trying to keep this fairly short and concise.
Absolutely. And one of the questions that David, you might be able to answer, or might be a good question to contact support about, is Pivot compatible with Blackboard?
As far as I know, it is. That may be a tech support question there, and because I think you can assign it through there. I'm not sure. They would need to ask somebody who's a little bit more expert with that one on that.
Absolutely. And as you mentioned, we are working on coming up with other webinar ideas and ways that we can best support educators. So finding some opportunities to create webinars that are specifically about some of these topics are definitely on our radar, to go a little bit more in depth on some of these questions that we're seeing pop up. And then, oh, well, we did have another question come in that was video analysis related. To jump back to that really quick, there's a question about, can you reverse the video? So can you have the plane come in from the left versus coming in from the right?
No. Yeah, I mean, I could do some calculated columns and multiply by -1 and have the data switch, but the video here is really the video. I mean, there are other applications that would allow you to do that. I don't know the names of those, but that would just be outside of that. So you would actually create the file separately and then bring that one in. But really, the app itself only allows you to bring in the raw video that you have, because you're not really able to manipulate the video itself. It's not that kind of tool to be able to have it switch which direction the plane in this case comes from. So it'd be nice, but
I guess you needed to just stand in that window and wait for a plane to come from
well,
the
the
left side
problem
versus
was
the
is that
right.
well, the planes weren't going to come another direction. It was only going to come that direction. It was a great
Okay.
day though. I had a good time.
It looked like a nice one. A few more questions. So one of the questions that came in was about the difference between graphical analysis and Logger Pro.
Oh, okay. So the deal with this is that Logger Pro has been around for like 18 years, Logger Pro 3, something like that. And it's for computers, and so Macs and PCs. For a long time, it was really the kind of the core of what we did. And but when other devices came along, like Chromebooks and iPads and all of that, they're not really fully functional computers, and Logger Pro would not run on them. And so we had to come up with another plan. And so graphical analysis, the fact that it can run on multiple platforms, including things like Chromebooks and phones and whatnot, gave it a lot more flexibility. Logger Pro has some more advanced features than graphical analysis does, and it's sold as a site license for a school, and so the school actually pays for it, and the license, is for the entire school. The license extends to the students' homes, and that's that free trial that we have now through October. That if you download it, you'll be able to do that. And what's happened is that our lab manuals are available in electronic format, and the format of the lab is dependent upon what software you're going to be using. So some of the labs are written with instructions for, say, you might be using Logger Pro. If you have computers, Macs or PCs, they could do that. But then there are versions of the same labs that are for graphical analysis. There are versions for our LabQuest device. Somebody mentioned that was early on, there was a question about using it with a LabQuest. And so there are different versions of the labs depending upon the device you're using for your data collection. So it's really just a matter of what the students have. And so the issue with graphical analysis is the fact that it's available for a much broader array of devices. There's a better chance that your students can actually interact with the data somehow. They don't have to have the computer to be able to do that. The other thing about graphical analysis is we actually created it really to interact with our Go Direct line of sensors. And so this sensor can be plugged in via USB or it's Bluetooth. And so it can interact with that app. And so it was partially created, or really created, to interact with that. And it's constantly being updated and made more robust. And so there's always things that we want to add to it. To make it work a little bit better, more functional for you. But the main difference is the broadness of what you can use it on.
All right, we have only a few more minutes left, but I think we'll be able to squeeze in a few more questions. Are there any restrictions on the file format for the videos in video analysis?
Well, anytime you put a question that has the word any in there, the answer is yes, there are restrictions to that. I think if you go to, if we actually go to the user manual, so this would be the downloadable user manual. There should be some information, I think, there about what you're going to be able to, what kind of browser you have to have. And there are also some places where it sends you to some URLs that will give you some advice about which file formats. I don't know right off the top of my head what file formats it will accept, but I do know it's designed to accept the typically used file formats that you might take if you're using your an Android phone or an Apple phone or something like that, that it can utilize those.
All right. Well, we did have one other question, and we can try and answer it in a few minutes. But in Logger Pro, can you combine sensor readings with video?
Yes, you
That was
can.
the question. Okay.
Yes, that's one of the things that Logger Pro does that nothing else does, is that it actually allows you to collect sensor data and video simultaneously. So there's a way to do that. And I think if you go to our website and you go to under our support tab, and we've got some videos there, our tech tip videos. There's a tech tip video that I think shows you how to do that. We didn't want to emphasize that for this webinar because we suspect that your students aren't going to actually have the hardware to be able to do the experiment. They're only going to have the software. And so that is possible to be able to do that. One thing you could do, for whoever asked the question. Contact tech support, and they might be able to, we can set up a little webinar for you and kind of show you how to do that. Maybe that's a topic that we should cover in another webinar.
Maybe.
So.
Absolutely. We're always looking for ideas on what to do. And just a quick plug, if people want to get in touch with support, what's the best way for people to do that?
Well, the best way to do that, if you go to vernier.com, and there is a support tab. In fact, let me just go to Vernier. And if you go to the support tab, you can see where you can go for support. And so there are frequently asked questions, the product manuals here. You can always call our number, 888 Vernier, though I know right now, given where we are, that a lot of people aren't in the office, but people are taking tech support calls, and so you can do that. So the contact us, so you can, there's the support request, email, or the phone, to be able to do that. And I know something I forgot to do. I forgot to do in my, there's also chat. I forgot to show where to download the software, but this is one of the places to go to get it. You can go to support or downloads, and this is where you can get like graphical analysis 4 and spectral analysis and Logger Pro, but those other links would have taken you there. So.
Absolutely. All right. Well, we are at our time. David, thank you so much for answering all these questions and for presenting on the various remote learning resources that Vernier has put together. We are so appreciative of your time, and thank you to everybody who attended and asked these wonderful questions. We will definitely be providing more support for all of you, but please don't hesitate to reach out to our support team, who is always around to answer questions you may have and get you going with your remote learning.
And hopefully we'll all see each other in person one of these days at a hands-on workshop. So.
Absolutely. All right, everybody take care and stay well.